Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Rama Rama Rama. Durban is full of music. It's full of parihasya, joking. Therefore I greet you all. Swagatam, Swagatam, Vaho Mahabhagya. Krishna greeted the gopis saying Swagatam. What's happening? Swagatam, Swagatam. Welcome, welcome. Mahabhagya, oh greatly fortunate ones. So you're all greatly fortunate because you are members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And you're all greatly fortunate because you are grand disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. You are followers. Either you're initiated or uninitiated, you are followers of Srila Prabhupada. So this is your bhagya. Bhagya means good fortune. Therefore it says Swagatam, Swagatam, welcome, O Mahabhagya. Om Anjanatam Dasya Gunanjana Sarakaya Shri Radha Radha Shri Radha Radha Mahaprabhu Ki Om Ajnatamardasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshmatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakiramayam Danti Swandarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapata Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhana Raghunatam Vitantam Shijivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Harijanam Sahitam Krishna Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishavitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Nina Ramdu Jagapate Gopesha Gopikana Radha Kanjana Namostate Tata Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanusudevi Anamani Harike Vanchakata Kirugesa Kripa Sindhu Devacha Adinama offer my prostrate obeisances to my senior godbrother, Srila Ramanuja Prabhu, who is my senior, and he's graced us with his presence. Let me also offer my respectful greetings and obeisances to the national secretaries who come here. That is Swarup Damodar Prabhu, His Grace, who was temple president for 12 years here, and to Haridev Prabhu, His Grace Haridev Prabhu, also to Holiness Partha Prabhu, who is the regional secretary, and to Vibhu Chaitanya, who's taking on a lot of responsibility in this mission as the temple president here, and also the minister of book distribution, which is very important. So let me offer my respects to these Vaishnavas. As I was offering Aarti, I was thinking how I had the good fortune to do this in 1975. As soon as I got here to South Africa, which was late April or early May 1974, they made me the pujari. So I was in charge of worshipping Born-in-Time deities. And they were about this big brass deities. Presently they're in the Lenasia temple. So I was the pujari when Srila Prabhupada came. So of course I had to attend to his Guru Puja, cleaning of the temple, and chandan. I would have to make the chandan for Prabhupada. When you make the chandan, this is the sandalwood, then it couldn't be too liquidy. Why? Why could it not be too liquidy? Because it would drip into his eyes, and then Prabhupada would give you a look that would reduce you to like 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter. So, but on the other hand, it couldn't be too thick. So just before putting it on, I'd have to adjust it by putting a little water. And then, of course, flower garland for Prabhupada. And then I would give him the Charitamrita and then wash his hand. And then most of the days I did the Guru Puja to Prabhupada. That was very nice. As far as I remember, I stood on Prabhupada's left side, which is not correct. But then in those days, we were doing many things which weren't so correct. We didn't really know so much. Then we would offer flower petals to Prabhupada. And then when everyone had finished offering flower petals, Prabhupada would take the same flower petals and throw them at the Vaishnavas. And there's pictures of him doing this in South Africa. That's very nice. So these types of remembrances of worshipping Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, become a very important part of my bhajan. Bhajan means one's personal chanting of Krishna's name. This is the most intimate time of the day when we chant the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It is the Maha, the greatest of all mantras. So when we chant it, we listen to the sound of the holy name, but our mind can also dwell on thoughts. Just like, when you're cooking, you have something on the back burner and then something on the front burner. So it's sort of going simultaneously. So one tries to hear the sound vibration of God's name. At the same time, one can, if you're fortunate enough, have some thoughts of Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Lord Chaitanya, Jagannath. And this is very enlightening to have such thoughts, especially when we chant Krishna's name. So thinking of Prabhupada in South Africa for me is very important. On my desk, in my room, where I stay in Hillcrest, I have 3 pictures of Prabhupada. One in Africa, but in Mauritius on the beach, and then one sitting at his desk in Johannesburg, and then one walking on Durban Esplanade on the Golden Mile. It looks, there's no high rises, it's just there's 1 or 2 I can recognize. But Prabhupada is going for a morning walk. So I look at these 3 pictures, thinking of Prabhupada in relation to South Africa. So I wanted to read this letter. It's a very nice letter. I actually quoted this in the recent Vyasa Puja ceremony of Srila Giriraj Maharaj. So I memorized this particular quote, and it's very important. So I'll read it. It's from a letter in 1973, December the 9th. But it's a very powerful quote. So I wanted to just go over this briefly. This is what Prabhupada has written. Now we have, by Krishna's grace, built up something significant in the shape of this ISKCON, and we are all one family. Sometimes there may be disagreement or quarrel, but we should not go away. These inequities can be adjusted by 3 things: cooperative spirit, tolerance, and maturity. So I request you to kindly remain in the association of our devotees and work together. The test of our sincerity and actual dedication to serve the spiritual master will be the mutual cooperative spirit to push on this movement and not make factions and deviate. So, Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, mercy of Lord Nityananda, we accept he's a Shakti Avesh avatar, a Shakti Avesh empowered living being, has given us Krishna consciousness, the Vaishnava philosophy. He has taken it out of India. He was the only one who did it. So immediately there is some debt, because he's the only one who did it. Although other disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta are also completely bona fide, and they practice Krishna consciousness. They didn't leave India to preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada did. And as a result of his preaching, we're also now devotees. So immediately there is a debt. Immediately there's a debt we owe to Prabhupada. Then of course Prabhupada, in order to nourish his disciples, created a mission, the ISKCON mission. And he created many different activities that we could do, like distributing books, building temples, translating, Food for Life, presenting books in the universities, restaurants, farms, gurukuls, schools. Prabhupada gradually introduced, he didn't do it immediately, gradually he introduced all of these different activities to engage his disciples. So not only did he present this philosophy, but he presented a method by which this our Krishna consciousness can be nourished. Pushti, to nourish. And even now it is being nourished by the festivals, Rath Yatra, by book distribution, by deity worship. Our Bhakti Lata Beach, the seed of devotional service, is being nourished. So now we owe another debt to Prabhupada. First, he brought the message, and he created this society which nourishes us further in our bhakti. Then, of course, he gave us books, and he created the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. And these books are Prabhupada's purports, Prabhupada's ecstasies. And contained within these books are the commentaries of the previous acharyas like Bhaktivinoda, Bhaktisiddhanta. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada starts off each chapter with a quote from Amrita Prabhas. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Tika. And then he includes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's Tika, Anubhasya, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we're not just getting Srila Prabhupada's Tika, the word Tika means commentary in his books, but we're also getting that of Bhaktivinoda, Bhaktisiddhanta, Sridhar Maharaj, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami. In other words, we're getting the whole package in Prabhupada's books. So this is now another debt that we owe him. We're becoming overwhelmed by debt. So how do we pay this debt back? Well, Prabhupada is saying here very clearly, the dedication and the sincerity of my followers will be determined by how much they can cooperate. Mutual cooperation is the word Prabhupada used. To spread this mission and not create what? Factions and deviate. So Prabhupada did not want us to deviate, to fall away. He wanted us to carry on practicing Krishna consciousness. And definitely not create factions, create like subgroups. Unfortunately, due to the influence of Kali, which means the age of misunderstanding, the age of quarrel, sometimes people's consciousness get a little covered by Maya, and they try to be a little separate to ISKCON, create some other organization or something. But Prabhupada is clearly saying here that the test of our dedication, you want to test. How you test the temperature of water, thermometer. There is a test of what you think is your devotion and sincerity to your Guru, to your Param Guru. And what is that? It is the mutual cooperation. The mutual cooperation to spread this Krishna consciousness all over the world, not just to the Indian people, European, African, colored, and not just South Africa. We have to look, at the bigger picture, Southern Africa. We should be preaching in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Soweto, Swaziland, all these countries. Eventually, I would hope that preachers can go from here to these different countries. This is what Prabhupada would want. So Prabhupada said, now, by Krishna's grace, we have built up something significant in the shape of ISKCON. So I remember in 1974, when I came, there were 3 devotees, and they were all imported, not your locals. And then after 3 months, we made our first local. He was from Rhodes University, Gokulendra. And then a lady joined, European lady, Rochini. And then gradually a few people came. Now, of course, there's perhaps 1,500 initiated devotees. And we have some very nice temples, beautiful temple. I was reading, there was some article where Durban was highlighted as being one of the best cities in Africa. And it mentioned in the newspaper entertainment, religious entertainment. And in it mentioned the Hare Krishna temple. You must go there. It was in a couple articles. You must go to the Hare Krishna temple, go into his restaurant, etc. So by Krishna's grace, we've established something here in South Africa. Temple in Phoenix, Ladysmith, Newcastle, Soweto, Lenasia. Of course, we have a lot more to do, but at least we've started. So now by Krishna's grace, we have built up something significant in the shape of ISKCON, and we are all one family. Sometimes there may be disagreement and quarrel. Quarrel is natural in the age of Kali. You must expect misunderstanding, even between husband and wife. Most of you are married. You're honestly going to tell me, it's all hunky-dory, it's all sweetie pie, it's all a bed of roses. Be honest, men. There are times when you get henpecked. And sometimes the men henpeck the ladies. And there's a little misunderstanding, and there's a little sharp words. So this is natural. So we expect this in the age of Kali. So even in a spiritual mission, that may be there. But these things can be adjusted. And Prabhupada said, how do we adjust them? By the cooperative spirit, by tolerance, and by maturity. Cooperation. Sometimes someone will say, well, cooperation means they, he, she should cooperate with me. And that's my cooperation. But another definition of the word cooperation means to comply with someone else's request. And that puts the ball in your court. As they say, proactive. What can I do to make the situation more sweeter? So we comply with other people's requests. The prime example would be in the 1980s when Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, Ramanuja Prabhu, Madhavi Prabhu, we all put down our various services and we went fundraising, selling paintings for 4 years. Not 4 weeks, 4 months, 4 years. Ramanuja Prabhu was a partner of Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. They traveled all over South Africa. Madhavi Prabhu, who's now in Cape Town. So we put aside our own personal interests and we just collected for this temple, Radharanath. So cooperation must be there. Tolerance. Tolerance. The first characteristic of Bhava Bhakti. Now one who's on the stage of Bhava Bhakti means they practically got both feet in the spiritual world. They are very, very advanced. Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. They are very advanced. And the first characteristic of Bhava Bhakti, Shanti Abhyat Kalabam, Virakam Anasunyate, forbearance or tolerance. So the first qualification characteristic of Bhava Bhakti is beginning stage of love of Godhead, Bhava Bhakti. If praying is like the sun, Bhava Bhakti is like one molecule of sunlight. So it's the beginning of love of Godhead, Bhava Bhakti. And the first, there are 9 characteristics. Shanti Abhyata Kalabam. Shanti means forbearance, tolerance. Abhyata Kalabam, utilizing all your time. Virakta, detachment. Anasunyate, pridelessness. Asabandhas, mudkanta, great hope that you attain love of Godhead. Enthusiasm, samudkanta is the 6th one. Namagara Sadavruchi, great taste for the holy name, 7th one. Kritistadrasate Sale, attachment to the holy places like Vrindavan and Mayapur. But the first one is tolerance. This is why this verse, Tranadapi Sunei Chena Adi Sarasuna Manina. This is why this verse is so important. One should put it in a locket around the neck. Tolerance. So one has to tolerate. Srila Govinda Maharaj said, tolerate, cooperate. First of all, you double tolerate. And then you're in a position to, you don't cooperate, tolerate. It goes around the other way. So, tolerance is required. You'll be forced to tolerate your body getting old and diseased. all of us will go through aches and pains and various bodily problems. You have to tolerate. So we have to tolerate so much, even in a spiritual mission. Prabhupada tolerated. The other day I went to the dentist, which I recently, he was doing my teeth, and I remembered how Prabhupada also, when he was here in 1975, he had toothache. Prabhupada was tolerating toothache. Problem. Sometimes Prabhupada would become sick. Sometimes there would be misunderstanding in his mission. Sometimes his own disciples would fight a little. Prabhupada had to tolerate. Sometimes the situation in Prabhupada's mission affected Prabhupada so much he couldn't translate. He couldn't sleep at night. He wouldn't eat. But he tolerated. So tolerance is essential. And we have to develop this. So cooperative spirit, tolerance, and maturity. When you become mature, you begin to see things properly. My godbrother Burijam Prabhu, he quoted a German philosopher, Goethe, who said that when you become mature, you understand your limitations. We all have various limitations. So one has to understand what you can offer to Prabhupada and his mission. So by these things, cooperative spirit, tolerance, and maturity. So this is the test of our sincerity. This is the test of our dedication. So I encourage all of you to become serious in your Krishna consciousness. One can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Sometimes people say, no, it takes many, many lifetimes. But Prabhupada wrote, he wrote a letter to Rida Prabhu in South Africa, June the 15th. And Prabhupada wrote a letter and initiated 4 devotees. This is the time that he initiated the first Indian girl. Actually, she was the first Indian, but she was female, Shamasundara. Her name was Nadira from Benoni. I remember I picked her up in a combi and with Gokulendra drove to the temple. In those days, due to apartheid, we had to tell everyone she was the maid. And she lived outside. So she got initiated in 1976. Prabhupada accepted her. And in that letter, Prabhupada also said, yes, in South Africa, do the Rath Yatra festival. This is when Prabhupada gave his permission. And he told us to do it in January, February time, December, January, just like in Melbourne. And then Prabhupada wrote that we will try to get you deity of Jagannath in India. So also, Prabhupada ends the letter off, and he says, if you hold firmly to these principles, that's the 4 regulative principles, there will be no obstacle in the steady progress in Krishna consciousness, and one can go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. So Prabhupada is writing to us in South Africa. It may be 40 years later, but it's applicable. And he's saying if we hold steady to these principles and chant every day, we will make advancement, and we can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So this is Prabhupada's gift. So I request you to seriously think about this and realize how much indebted you are, how much indebted we are, how much indebted I am, and try to spread Krishna consciousness in a cooperative spirit. And then one can go back to the spiritual world, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Lord Krishna's pastimes, in this lifetime. Prabhupada further writes that the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement, he writes in the 8th canto, chapter 24, text 52, that the goal is to live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, eat with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the goal of life. And then Prabhupada also writes, it's very nice, as a spiritual person, a devotee returns to the personality of Godhead and dances and plays with him. So this is what we want to do. Dance and play with Krishna. In order to do this, you need a spiritual body. So we are getting that spiritual body. It's evolving. Just like you have a young child, a daughter, a son. Slowly they grow. To start off with, they don't know who the mother is, they can't walk. They just speak gaga. But gradually they learn how to walk, and then they recognize, oh, my mother, my father, and then they get to know what is their name. You don't immediately know what is your name, then you learn how to spell it and your address, and then you begin to recognize friends and neighbors as you grow. So we are gradually developing our spiritual body. And as we make further spiritual advancement, the spiritual body begins to blossom like a lotus. It begins to grow very nicely. And this spiritual body, we can be the cowhead boy dancing with Krishna. We can be like Mother Yasoda, Vatsalya, or we could actually be like a gopi. And this is the aim of this Krishna consciousness movement. You might say, well, I prefer some other aim. For Prabhupada writes in the commentary to the song Nitai Pada Kamala that the aim of this Krishna consciousness movement is to approach Radha and Krishna and associate with Krishna in his sublime pleasure dance. And that's word for word. So many other aims may be there. To spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, to translate these books in many languages. So many other aims. But Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, text number 8, has said that the ultimate instruction, the highest instruction, is to Tistambraja Taranuragi Jananudami. The essence of all instructions, to reside in Vrindavan, in your spiritual body, to play with Krishna, to dance with Krishna. And Prabhupada is also saying the aim of this Krishna consciousness movement. Now in order to dance and play with Krishna, you need a spiritual body. So that's what we're developing gradually. And this is the gift that Prabhupada has given us. It's actually amazing. And we are completely in debt. So we have to try to pay it back during our short lifetime. And that means to cooperate with other devotees in spreading Prabhupada's personal mission. This ISKCON is Prabhupada's personal mission. It's his personal mission. So even though there may be some defect, still we try within the mission to improve, to make it perfect. So please take this seriously and try to chant Krishna's name purely and understand what is the ultimate aim. To associate with Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Krishna and Balaram in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada said, he wrote, 1976, the devotees here in South Africa, you can actually do it in one lifetime. But even if it takes 2 lifetimes, is that a problem? Or 3 lifetimes? I'll give you an example. I worked this out. That Krishna in the Rasa Lila, and Prabhupada saying, this is the ultimate aim, to join Radha and Krishna in the sublime pleasure dance. It goes on for 1 night of Brahma. 1 day or 1 night, I'm saying. 12 hours. What is 12 hours of Lord Brahma? It's 1,000 cycles of Satyuga, Tretyuga, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga. So in other words, it's 4,300,000,000 years. So for 4,300,000,000 years, Krishna dances. Now that's just one of his pastimes. He dances. How long we can dance for? If you're young, even you're fit. 2 hours, 3 hours, and we get all sweaty Betty. You know, we have to sit down So Krishna dances 4 billion years. Now during that 4 billion years that Krishna is dancing, if we live for 90 years as a human being, we will take birth and die 47 million times. We will take birth in the womb of a mother and die 47 million times, all during one particular dance of Krishna. So if it takes 2 lifetimes to go back to Godhead, or 3, or 4, or even 10, is it a big deal? Considering in one pastime of Krishna, you are born and you die 47 million times. That is assuming you live 90 years. You may not live 90 years. You may take birth as a mayflower, a mayfly. A mayfly female lives for 5 minutes. You may take birth as Drosophila, fruit fly, and live for 2 months. But assuming you take birth as a human being, you'll be born and die 47 million times. And this is all during just one of Krishna's pastimes, Rasalila. So this is the gift that Prabhupada is giving us, Lord Chaitanya. And Prabhupada is the one that gave it. So we should always feel indebted, and from this indebtedness we will feel gratitude. Kritagya, that word gratitude. The Roman philosopher, Cicero, said that gratitude is the mother of all virtues. Gratitude. To feel grateful. We should feel very grateful to Prabhupada's representatives. We're fortunate. We should feel grateful to His Holiness Giraj Swami, who gave so much to this yatra. His Holiness Bhakti Chumaj, who's giving so much. Ramanuja Prabhu, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, His Holiness Kadamba Khan Maharaj. They're giving. We should feel grateful. We should feel some gratitude. We should cultivate this feeling of gratitude to Maha Prasad, gratitude to the deities. How fortunate I am to possess the holy name. You possess the holy name. Kritagya, gratitude. And akritagya means ingratitude. Ingratitude. Even Shakespeare said, blow, blow, O winter wind. Thou art not so unkind as an ungrateful man. Blow, blow, O winter wind. Can you imagine a winter wind? How cold? Thou art not so ungrateful thou art not so unkind as an ungrateful man. Man, woman. Akritagya means to be ungrateful. So we should be kritagya, grateful to Prabhupada, his representatives who are coming here and helping us, the institution, the devotees who are serving here, Shri Radha Radhanath, Amazia Temple, Jagannath Port. It's all voluntary. It's all voluntary. They get some small allowance, which is pennies. So we should feel so much grateful to the Vaishnavas who are serving this mission. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON ki jai. Prabhupada Nandi.
His holy